William Hillcourt, or Breen Bar Bill as most knew him by, got his start in scouting in Denmark when his older brother gave him a Danish translation of Scouting for Boys as a Christmas gift in 1910. Bill couldn't get enough of the skills and adventures that scouting provided, and in 1920 represented his troop with the Danish contingent at the First World Jamboree. In 1925, Bill set off on an epic adventure to travel the world and discover as much as he could about scouting, with the goal of taking all that he would learn back to Denmark and making scouting better in his homeland. His first stop was the United States, where he started a job at a scout camp in New York. And soon after, he accepted employment with the National Office of the BSA, where he worked until his retirement in 1965. Today, we're going to talk with Nelson Block, President and Chairman of the Breen Bar Bill Foundation, about some of the new items now on display here at the National Scouting Museum in this edition of Artifact of the Week. Nelson, thanks for joining us. It's time to talk a little bit more about Breen Bar Bill. We've got some pretty cool things on display here that we've never had on display before. Can you tell us a little bit about this uniform that we've now got on display?
Sure. So this is Bill's uniform that he wore starting when this uniform came out in the 1980s. And it tells a lot of the story of Bill. One of the great things is the UNAMI 1 patch. Bill was a Vigil Honor member of the Order of the Arrow, and he was very close to the founder of the Order of the Arrow, Dr. E. Erner Goodman. The first lodge of the Order of the Arrow was UNAMI, Lodge number 1. Also emblematic is a patch from the 17th World Jamboree in Korea. At the time of his death in 1992, Bill had been to every national jamboree and every World Jamboree except for 2. Also, we have his wood badge neckerchief, slide or woggle, and his wood badge beads. Those are symbols of having completed the wood badge course. With the beads, if you when you complete wood badge, you get 2 beads. If you serve as a staffer, you get a 3rd bead. If you're a course director or scoutmaster, you get a 4th bead. And if you are the founding scoutmaster in a country, you are appointed a deputy camp chief of Gilwell for that country, and you get a 5th bead. The 5th bead is the small one, and it is an original bead from Chief Dinizulu's necklace that was acquired by Lord Baden-Powell when he was on service in the Ashanti Wars in Africa. It was given to him by John Thurman, who was the 3rd camp chief of Gilwell in the 1960s. It should have been given to Bill after he led the first course done in America under a Boy Scouts of America syllabus. That was in 1948.
This shirt is also captured in a fairly famous piece of art that's on display. Tell us about that artwork.
Behind me, you'll see a painting by the famous scout artist Joe Sitari that was done about 20 years ago of Bill in this uniform. Bill wore this uniform at a visit at Gilwell Park. We had a photo of that, and we gave that to Joe, plus the shirt, the neckerchief, and the other items you see in the portrait, and Joe painted that beautiful portrait.
For me, one of the coolest things about that shirt is the green stain that's on it. What's the story behind that green stain?
Well, we think that's a pen stain. We don't know for sure. It's actually been reduced. It was much brighter, but we sent the shirt to a conservator who tried to take out that and a few other stains, but it's never been removed. And it just shows that this was a working uniform. Bill was wearing it out there, meeting scouts and scouters, telling the story of scouting and Lord Baden-Powell, and generally having a great time.
Now, one of the things that I've discovered working here at the museum is the number of people who come here and have gotten something autographed by Breen Bar Bill, and that, to me, that green ink stain is emblematic of that. Tell me, how did that all come about? How did that start?
So Bill became Breen Bar Bill in the 1920s. In 1929, Bill and the Boy Scouts of America published the first handbook for patrol leaders. That put Bill on a road of writing more in Boys Life magazine for Scouts. His idea in writing monthly columns for Scouts in Boys Life was that it was going to be one patrol leader speaking to other patrol leaders and their patrol members. So Bill, who was a really fine children's writer as well as a good writer of adult materials, decided that he was going to use his first name and he was going to use the 2 bars of a patrol leader and created a symbol by writing his name Bill over the 2 green bars. And that's how we got to Breen Bar Bill. Especially when we came out with colored felt tip pens, it became very easy to draw 2 green lines and then write Bill over that. In 1964, I met Bill for the first time at the 1964 National Jamboree. Bill didn't have a green pen, so he wrote in blue ink using just a regular ballpoint pen that he had, 2 bars, and he kind of cross-hatched them to make them look like they were a color, and then he wrote his name over that. And he signed some books for me. He signed my Jamboree identification card, and he signed, I think, a program for that day's program that I had.
So you've got a very personal connection to Breen Bar Bill in a way that many others may not.
I do. I'm very fortunate.
Now there's one other piece of art that's on display that may not tell the entire story of Breen Bar Bill, but tells a significant portion of it. Tell us about that piece of art.
I think you're talking about the sculpture that Ray Kapp did in 2021. He worked on it for more than a year. It was cast at a foundry in Italy, where they do some very fine work. It represents a number of things. Number one, it has Bill's neckerchief, wood badge beads, his silver buffalo, and his Distinguished Eagle Scout Award. It has his hat, sort of representing his years as a Scoutmaster when he wore a campaign hat back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s with his Troop 1 in Mendon, New Jersey. It has copies of his 2 most popular books, the 2nd edition of the Handbook for Patrol Leaders and the 6th edition of the Boy Scout Handbook, very popular. It has a flag that Bill gave out to contestants in the patrol flag contest, and the flag was generally made of felt or cotton muslin, and it had a great big Breen Bar Bill symbol on it. This one actually shows Bill's hand writing in the Breen Bar Bill symbol, and that's because Ray Kapp, when he went to Jamboree, got one of the pennants and had Bill autograph it for him, and that's what Ray used as the example, the model for making this sculpture.
Nelson, I want to thank you for taking some time to help us learn a little bit more about Breen Bar Bill. Breen Bar Bill's contributions to the Scouts and Scouters of the BSA are without question some of the most significant influences that are still making an impact today. To learn more about Breen Bar Bill, check out the video that we have on YouTube, which is part of a playlist related to Requirements 1 and 2 for the Scouting Heritage Merit Badge. Well, that's all the time we have for this week. Join us next time as we continue to learn more about the history of the BSA through the collection of the National Scouting Museum and Artifact of the Week.